Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It is G here. Guys, I am in California. It's hot. It's really hot. But I have been visiting with family and I'm having an amazing time in the States. I've been wanting to show you guys more, but my hands are always full with the kids and doing so many things. But being around family, being around like people I haven't seen in years, listening to stories, I've had so many realizations and so many conversations. And of course, I'm always thinking about like, oh my God, like, wow. And some of the conversations that I've been having recently, I can't help but to wonder and think about when we talk about relationships, our history, how do any of us actually know what a healthy relationship, romantic relationship looks like? Hell, sometimes friendships as well. Guys, subscribe to my channel and let's have a little chat.
If I ever did you wrong, fuck you. I'm a nice person. You provoke me.
So one of the things that I always get when I time as a single mother versus my time as like a partnered mother and all of these things in between, when I talk about how life has been and relationships I've had and things like that, so many people will tell me like a healthy partnership between a mom and dad or two partners or whatever is like the best thing for children. And we carry this over. People say this all the time, like, it's always, you can do it by yourself, but it's so much better. It's so much, more positive for the children to have like both parents present. And when I listen to and I talk to people and I listen to men and women, their relationships, their journeys in these relationships, when did they become healthy? A lot of times they don't actually become like something that people might want to deal with until like it's kind of towards the end. Like most of these people have gone through decades of terrible behavior, decades of dealing with cheating and side chicks and other families and all of these things, decades. And, so many people will say to me, a lot of times when I talk about raising my oldest by myself, they're like, well, you had men around, you had, your brothers or your uncles, your family, your cousins. And I'm like, does being in a room with a man count as some sort of influence? Like just being in the room? Because when they compare, and I try not to compare, but when I look at some of these guys who have had fathers in their lives to a certain extent, they're awful. And not to say the ones who don't have fathers all around aren't sometimes as awful. But what I'm saying is like it hasn't made a difference. And sometimes the example, the awful example, sometimes the example that the men lead by is awful. And I keep hearing sometimes, but the men who have seen these awful things often they idolize that. They idolize the idea that, their grandfathers had like side chicks and all of these things and other families and, he was still somehow around for them and, I don't even understand it. How is this healthy? And I don't know really that many people who can describe a healthy relationship from start to finish. Maybe third or fourth marriages in that they work out. But a lot of times those marriages, even in the beginning, when you've had that much baggage, behind you, don't start off as something you would want to do. It's like they went through trial by fire and they were just so determined to have the relationship, to have the person that they dealt with it, they put up with it, something else happened, and they eventually got to a point where everyone has accepted the things. So I keep asking myself when I hear the stories from my family, and I have like those idealistic relationships in my family where people were together 40, 50 years. And I just found out that it's very likely that my father was a product of a sexual assault because my grandmother was a mere 14-year-old girl when she got pregnant by a man in his 30s. No one's ever talks about that. And even in listening to that story, and I said, so my father was a result of sexual assault. Everyone kind of looked like, well, maybe, I guess. I mean, they weren't even married, mind you. They weren't married. So for a 14-year-old girl way back then to have somehow been around this old ass man and gotten pregnant, unmarried, she was assaulted. I can't come to any other conclusion, but we've gotten so used to seeing these things as normal that it's never come up. And when she finally was married to the grandfather that I actually knew, she was 17, he was 37. That's still not okay. Um, and it's just, people question their parentage. Is that my real dad? Is this that? When did we see healthy relationships to model after? We've kind of been making it up as we go along, as we've gotten in the idea that our childhoods were shit, we were treated badly, and we want to evolve that for our kids. Not everybody, but I don't know in very many examples that I would say like that was a healthy relationship that one would want to model their relationship, their parenting style, their future towards. Because most of the story, I was listening to one of my aunts, like, who married my actual uncle, and I was like, girl, I don't know how you even got here. I wouldn't have been here. I couldn't have done it. I could not have gone through that amount of fire for that long. And I don't even know why it's worth it. I don't know why it's worth it. I think that's what it comes down to. When we talk about healthy relationships, what are we even talking about? Men think that just being in the room qualifies as doing something. They just have to be in the room. That's it. This idea of the soft guy era has always existed. They just gave it a title. Because when I talk to some of my aunts who are in their 60s and 70s, the men that they married were homosexuals, to say the least. A lot of them did not bring as much to the table as the women did, even back then, even on a second marriage. Like they still did not bring as much to the table as the women did. Most of the idea that we have about healthy relationships are modeled after what is good for men to be able to do what they think they should do. It has not been healthy or balanced. And we've come to accept that. And I'm not saying all, but most. I can only say that there is one relationship that I know of, and I don't know all the details because it's not in my family, but one that I will say these people have been together for, I don't know, 70 years or something crazy like that. And there are no side babies. They seem to still be in love, and their kids are all like positive people for the most part. Not to say they didn't have issues, but like mostly like their kids are okay. One. And what I would say what seems healthy in respect to he treated his wife well, his kids were raised well, or their kids were raised well, and ultimately there's no evidence of any side situations having had happened. So that's the closest I can say. But when we say that, what are we even talking about? When we say to healthy parents, we don't even know what we're talking about because there are so few examples. And this goes beyond, in my opinion, it goes beyond even what is, in the Black community. It's kind of global. Black people model the Black community models the idea of what's a healthy relationship out after what white supremacy has told them. And we know how unhealthy that is and how bad that is representative of what a society should look like. So, as we are evolving and talking about healthy relationships, we need to be realistic in the fact that We have no idea what they look like, globally speaking. We have an imagination of what it should be, and very few relationships live up to that imaginary ideal or even come close or even try to actually embody it beyond the wedding honeymoon period. So I don't know what, as we're talking, and I have so much to talk about. That is some personal things that have come up for me since I've been on this trip that I will share with you guys. But this idea of a healthy relationship, where is it? When I see videos and everything, especially those that talk about Black love, where is the love? The women have just gone through it, sometimes the men as well, but people have just put people through trials, tribulations for no apparent reason other than the fact that they're selfish. They have no idea what their mental state is. They shouldn't have been in a relationship or tried to be in a relationship, definitely shouldn't have been having children, and left situations where nobody is healthy emotionally or mentally and sometimes physically. Because what I am noticing is that so many women keep giving and giving in situations and families, and they're not getting that balance in return. It's not, most of the times, is not healthy for both people involved. Guys, I would love to hear what you feel like a healthy relationship looks like, some of the examples that you have seen. But I think globally, very few of us have actually experienced healthy relationships and seen what that coupling might actually look like. So, guys, I am on my way to go to a family party, and I'm super excited to spend more time with my cousins, and my boys are like loving it. So, guys, subscribe to my channel, and ciao, ciao for now.